Like that.
Just like that, perfect, great example. I had the same issue with planning and zoning last time, I'm like, we're gonna turn on the audio. I think you're gonna do that. It's okay, we're only 6 years past COVID, when everyone started doing these meetings, it's fun. It's fun.
Trying to get the outcome to you. What did I do?
Oh, yeah, you just like randomly pick somebody to stick on.
Oh, yeah.
Say a word. Just camera ready.
I do see Spencer's hat. Look at that spiffy hat.
Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Drew has one very similar to it that he got. Or not, are we on? Are we gone?
The audio is on, so limit your
Okay,
expletives and
alright.
throwing people under the bus and
Originally,
too much bluff room and else.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say he has a sweet hat similar to it and I've tried to find it and Carolyn found one. Yeah.
all she do is go to Canada.
Where there's still beavers.
Right?
There's one in Lower Fish Canyon,
Really?
like actively building.
That's so good. Okay. Nature is doing what I'm want to do. Do the same for it real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and kick off our work session meeting for Tuesday, August 11th. We'll start off with the roll call, starting with Gary over here.
Erie Haas. Spencer Wade.
Josh Ewing.
Britt Hornsby.
Erin Nelson, serving as town manager.
Leah Collins, Administrative Director, and it is 4:01.
401, and we heard from Jen that she'll be here momentarily, so we'll build that in when she comes in. As we normally do, we'll start off with a welcoming public comment. If anybody wants to make a public comment, we'll start with people in the audience. If anybody wants to make a public comment, if you're online, which I don't see anybody else online, raise your hand. Anybody here want to make a public comment? Guessing you're all here for cemetery stuff. Okay. All right, well, make it easy. We'll start our first agenda item, which we put you all up first so that you don't need to stick around and listen to the rest unless you want to. So first of all, starting off with a big thanks for all the work. You guys have been really working hard on the cemetery ordinance. And I gather from the conversations that in working on it for, what is it now, 6 months or so, that you've come up with some ideas for how the ordinance might be tweaked or improved going forward. And so we wanted to invite you all to come and share any ideas with the council. We can have a discussion, ask questions, that sort of thing. Are y'all, all of y'all gonna talk, or?
She's here as a freelance artist, so.
Okay. You guys want to come a little bit closer in case we get people online, they can hear and see it a little bit more. A little awkward, but you know, the owl, it's quite all right, the owl thing. So, yeah, without further ado, what ideas do you have? What questions do you have for us? What recommendations?
Perfect, thanks for the welcome. Erin pulled up our updated ordinance on her screen. It's on the big screen behind you. Maybe you guys also have a copy on your computers. I made the changes and highlighted them yellow, so they stood out. A lot of it was just updating language to be more reflective of what the procedures and vision and goals are of the current cemetery. Some of it was more semantic. We changed everywhere that it said Bluff Town to Town of Bluff. Anywhere it said like recorder or bookkeeper, we added manager as well. We removed language referring to resident and non-resident rates and updated language referring to the master fee schedule as a place where you can find those things. We added language to prohibit hot air balloon launching from Cemetery Hill and removed language prohibiting home burials per state law and our own recent home burial.
I asked a question about the balloon launching thing. So what's the thing in there, like, from the not allowed balloon launching from anywhere on Cemetery Hill, or is it about about the cemetery grounds themselves, or what was the discussion around that?
It's specifically the cemetery grounds, because the turnaround isn't all cemetery grounds property. The turnaround is shared with Hole in the Rock and the Southwest Heritage Foundation. So the turnaround, by letter of the law, still exists as a place where balloons can launch. But the cemetery, we felt that it was more appropriate not to have balloons launching from. Pending your guys' review and thoughts on that too.
But, so it would be basically not launching or from the cemetery property.
We do have balloons that launch up there, so I would like, that was on my list as well, as just to clarify that. Can they still launch on the road? Because
Do they need to? Is there a reason to choose that?
it's, yes, well, I mean, it's a good launching spot because it lets them go either direction, and we're already limited in launching spots in
Oh,
town. So
thanks.
that's a good spot for them to take off from.
From
And
the
people
road.
also really enjoy it.
From the road.
Yeah, from the road, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, our pilots are very careful about laying out and putting down inappropriate places. Cool. So,
Did you have
yeah,
that
it's a
down?
pretty popular balloon launching spot.
No, we wouldn't want them in the cemetery proper. That just seems inappropriate for cemetery use. I guess we can't stop them from launching from the. I guess I have different views at it as well. The appropriateness of launching from there, yeah, I'm sure it's a great spot, but.
It is a good spot, and, you know, I mean, like I said, our pilots are very respectful of our town wishes, and if that's gonna be the case, then I'll do that, but.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, Tom, it's like totally appropriate for y'all to make a recommendation that you think, hey, maybe it's disrespectful to launch from a place or something, and then the council has to weigh, you know, the other benefits from it. Right, like you can see where clearly we make some real effort to make sure they're not on the actual cemetery property. And are limited to the road or something up there. I can see how that could be hard sometimes, you know, a lot of people walking around up there. But do I gather anyway that is kind of your recommendation representing the interest of the cemetery, that we really try to restrict impacts on the cemetery from balloons?
Definitely.
Good thing for us to weigh and discuss, yeah.
Another consideration is, I mean, launching up there is one thing. It's, unless we close off that road altogether, that's a really popular place for people to go and watch as well.
Yeah.
And, you know,
We didn't put any provisions prohibiting people access.
It is, but
It's a great hush spot.
after the last one, there was quite a bit of foot traffic.
well, and
Over
that's
the-
exactly what I mean. There's, you know, I don't, short of town of Bluff closing off that road altogether, and even then, I'm not sure that that's gonna stop that foot traffic.
Well, worth us discussing, appreciate you bringing the recommendation forward. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. Thank you.
but,
Great conversation. Thank you.
What
Go
other items would you highlight?
Erin has the animals section up on her screen. We added language prohibiting livestock unless they're part of a ceremony, or what's the other word? Funeral processions, ceremonial purposes, or authorized tours. Otherwise, I think the rest of that language was already there. It was just in a paragraph, and we broke it into like a bullet list. Those were the updates that I had noted that were like language-based changes.
What was the option one and option two?
So that was what I was working on after their last meeting. So if the full recommendation would be to not allow, to follow state law. Or, so you're saying it is state law that individuals are not supposed to bury on private property?
The only state law is that you may bury anyone on your own property.
Okay,
That's the only law that Utah has about burials.
gotcha. So then
ours-
option two would be what you guys would want to encourage some language around is that the town would discourage and needs to, if someone wanted to do this, the town is not representing that we're authorizing any of this, that the individual needs to go to state law to figure out what they need to do. So
I guess what
option,
we're saying is we can't prohibit it.
gotcha. So.
There are strict guidelines that the state, that they have to follow with the state.
Yeah.
With regard to how
To-
the
to-
burial
yeah.
takes place.
Yep,
So we're
where
gonna
then they've got to mark it
completely strike
and
through
record it with the
this.
state so that people know if they buy that property, hey, there's
Yes,
a grave right
Yeah.
there. But there are health issues that
right.
they have to follow.
Oh, I
They
wasn't
do.
aware of that. That's good to, that's good to know.
Yeah, got a certain amount of days
Yeah.
to get it.
I was also, we went quickly past that, but can you explain a little bit to option one and option two again?
So when we were initially talking about this, they were talking about the language that they wanted to use, and I might have misinterpreted the way that we wanted to put this into the ordinance. So I think option two is off the table entirely if the town is saying we're not allowed, or if the town is not allowed to say we're banning it entirely, we're prohibiting it, then option two is the only option to say the town is discouraging it, but if someone wants to do it, then they need to adhere to federal or to state code. So option one is not an option.
Would anybody be willing, maybe afterwards, to shoot me the citation on what is allowed under state law on private land and so forth?
Do you happen to know where you have seen that in the past?
My question in regard with that also is how does that work with the other established cemetery areas that are in town? There's a cemetery out at St. Christopher's Mission, which is also now in the town budget.
Well, we do reference that authorized cemeteries, that's fine.
My other concern is that, and this doesn't necessarily, but could apply to a lot of Navajo traditional burials, is not to intern in a cemetery, it's to intern someplace else. So that could be a cultural sensitivity item.
So how would we phrase that?
Well, I mean, that's where the state law that says you have to do it this way is, I think that's what covers that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you could flip it too. You could just say the town encourages internment in
the
these
cemetery?
places. Instead of discourages,
Yeah.
we could maybe flip it and say we encourage.
Nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that, and I guess I don't know much about the Navajo burial practices, to be honest, but. But that seems like maybe a more sensitive way to put it.
Mhm.
Especially if state law does allow, I'd like to just look into it a little bit more personally, like the state law piece. I don't know, you guys ever read that book Stiff?
I did.
Yeah.
No,
And it talks about all the different laws in different places and how a lot of times you can't bury on your own private property in certain states. So I didn't know what Utah's law was. Anyway, that's probably just one for us to look a little bit more into. And I guess I'm one that when people say state law says this, I like to just read it. So.
we did have discussion about if we're going to allow people to bury on their own property, that we would have to have some kind of, like, not in a drainage, just things that are probably in the state.
Probably that.
Yeah,
Health. See.
but we didn't come to any decision about that.
Fortunately, the state came to a decision for us.
The way I looked at it, with your recommendations, like the main issues for me was this option one, option two thing, and then the balloon thing.
Mhm.
Were like kind of policy decisions, and a lot of the other stuff was more language to make
Mhm.
things more clear.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, that was my impression.
a good way to understand it?
And then as we're doing cleanup, I would just format this in the way that you will, that we've been formatting ordinances this year. And then I know when this was originally passed, we did have oversight from legal counsel. But I'm curious if you all would want to run it by legal counsel prior to changing it. I don't know, in terms of timeline, you know, how this would impact the cemetery board. But it might be beneficial to have legal counsel look over this again. After we've secured a contract with legal counsel.
I guess I would, I guess I would use a little judgment after reading the state law and looking at that option one thing. It didn't seem to me that anything else was changing in a way that would be like create a new legal issue as opposed to just like wording changes, but. I'm very cognizant of taxpayer dollars when it comes to cha-ching of lawyer time. So. I guess it would be, if it felt like that optionality language up there might be problematic with the state code, then maybe that wouldn't really make sense to have that part looked over.
Yeah, I think if you're just defaulting to state, if you're just saying like, we have a to state code, then nothing built that, so.
And you're saying we did have the attorney review it previously in the previous version, right? Yeah. Any thoughts?
So it looks like the county health inspector might be one to reach out to about this, because they would know whatever. Apparently the county can't set its own rules too, on top of what the state says. So, but it has to do specifically with board table and things like that. So. Health inspector will know.
Did something happen to us?
Dennis, yes, I forgot about him.
Oh, yeah, it's.
Yeah, no, forgot about Dennis.
Don't forget about Dennis, he's great. Okay,
It's maybe he could at least point us in the right direction.
There was something in there about enforcement, that you guys are enforcing it.
Enforcing.
No,
Where'd you see that? Eric?
Oh, and on page 7, there is some talk of
Wanted to see what.
penalty and criminal trespass charges will be pursued if.
I think it's prior to season.
I don't remember anything like
But
that.
that's not regarding where you bury the body. This was
the page,
top of page 7. End of page 6.
3. Cemetery Board, powers and duties. The Cemetery Board, under the direction of the town council, has the entire charge of the cemetery and is authorized to enforce the rules and regulations.
I've been deputized.
Yeah, you get a badge and
Finally up there.
a baton.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't take that to be if there was like a grave robbing going on up there, we would call Carol and be like, hey, you better get up there.
No, we were thinking of
We'll
it,
call Carolyn in.
you know, make sure the right forms are used for this and that.
Yeah.
Make sure that people. And when we have set up procedures. So that things like people being buried in the wrong plot won't happen again, and we have one plot that's. Well, the burial took place on the border between 2 plots, so that kind of negates. But we had procedures set up now that shouldn't happen in the future.
What was your?
Maybe just the enforcement word might need to be changed to something else.
Encourage.
Oversee or
Yeah, maybe some
monitor or.
Yeah,
Administer, yeah, that's a good word.
I don't think we want too much authority.
the great.
I never want to.
It's not our goal.
Back to my barrier.
Yeah,
So do you want to see, recommend any changes to this statement then? Or do you? That's what you're talking about as well, regarding trespass,
In regard to not
not opening and closing graves.
not using one of the private contractors allowed. By the town of Bluff. I had a
Yes,
question about that as well. Like, can you dig your own grave? Like, if you have a plot up there, you don't wanna go through one of the contractors, can you dig the grave and fill it in.
not according to this.
It doesn't necessarily say that you can't do that. It just says that you can't use a private
Like-
contractor. Would you be considered a private contractor if you're not getting paid and you're digging your own?
Yeah.
Like for a family,
Good for me.
no matter if you didn't want to pay a contractor or,
And around here, done a couple where they were hand dug.
right?
So maybe that's. what we
Hand
need
digging
to
up there would be,
Look at that, is it,
be a week before you'd be done. That,
well, it happens, I mean,
Yeah.
we've done it recently.
Yeah, there's-
Well,
Yeah, there's been,
I get 10 guys out there.
How do you know which one it is?
Is a hole.
oh yeah, I'm
Right,
here
yeah.
somewhere. That's what it would
You're
take. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
dig
It's
it.
cool. Even a nice soil is.
The-
I didn't
So much
even, when I read through this, I didn't notice that, but it might be, I might stop to say. Maybe criminal trespasses may be pursued. Instead of will be.
Do we have to have that sentence at all? Like, I don't see a situation where any of that is being brought to that level of discipline and consequence.
Well, I mean, I could see it, and maybe this, relating to your policies and procedures, hopefully this never happened, but someone who's not a approved contractor goes there and digs and like digs into somebody else's burial, you know what I mean, like. That could be a really big deal.
Yeah.
Like, a really big deal, right? So like, it feels like you do want some language that gives you some ability to like.
Well,
some
yeah,
teeth.
one of the things that we've done with our own. In-house procedures, would be to, in advance of any grave opening. Someone on the board would have to go up and mark clearly where the grave was going to go. And which wasn't done before, as near as I could tell, they just eyeballed it and put it where they thought it should go, and so that would prevent. Unless they just ignored that entirely, and then.
Could I call on someone from the audience? Was there particular thought in that language around criminal trespass for using contractors that weren't approved by the town?
Well, I think that when we first did the ordinance, the discussion was having approved contractors and no one else. Unless it was approved by the board after that, because that's exactly. How we ended up in the situation we're in. There was burial in the wrong place. And there was no control and oversight. So I think it's a good idea to have both, in my opinion, just to have a list, and then if they want to vary from that list, contractors that do it by cemetery board or the. So.
And still have the board go out and mark, just delineate the exact location.
Yeah,
Did we run into difficulties with contractors not being available all the time? I mean. I just think about the number of backhoes that we have in town and.
Is it 2? Is it 1?
We have 3 right now, sometimes 4. That I know of.
Mhm.
But, I mean, of those 3. One of the operators is. 92 years old, and who knows how long we'll be operating his backhoe. One of them is very hard to get to do things sometimes. One of them is often not here, and the other one is sometimes not here also.
We also don't have that approved list created yet, right? It could include people outside this community. Theory.
or maybe there needs to be an option, if no one's available, then they would have to find their own. Person to do it. I don't think we can be
I
so
like the-
responsible that we.
Right, I like
we
the
have to
idea of
go
you
ahead.
have to have your burial site to approve for digging. I think that kind of eliminates that without saying you have to use one of our listed
Yeah, I think this is
equipment
a
operators.
case of actually just the sentence could be moved. So the failure to do so will result in penalty and criminal trespasses. If you move that sentence to before, where it talks about you have to get, grave site shall be open, let's see. The town of Bluff Sexton must be contacted prior to excavating for burial to verify proper location. If the failure to do so goes right after that one, then you're saying the criminal trespass is if you do it without contacting the sexton.
Right.
Which I think that seems totally reasonable. If you just go up to the cemetery and start digging, then
Yeah.
we're gonna get after you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's probably just like if you move that phrase. And then maybe we just add a sentence about the contractors or a contractor approved by the Bluff Cemetery Board. So then it's like, okay, if they can't find someone on the list and they have someone else, as long as cemetery board approves it.
So remove the language of no private contractors then,
Yeah, it seems like to me, like,
I don't think so.
but they have to be approved by the cemetery.
Right.
They're like. I don't know if you're following me there, Aaron.
I like that a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
That
that.
way, if you have a family member who wants to.
For the record, our two cemetery board members introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Carolyn.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carol, Harmon, Tom Hisser out here.
Eyes are
Thank
open.
you. Eyes are on. I always say it wrong.
No,
Keep correcting me.
it's been a lifelong struggle.
That seems like we still want teeth with it just going up there and digging piece. And then make it a little bit, you know, like. It's hard to find contractors. They just need to get the contractor approved if they're not already on a list, are yet to be developed list.
Approval is also kind of like amorphous, like they call us and say, we have a backhoe, and we say like, yes, we'll meet you up there.
I guess I'd be okay with that. I mean, delegating that to you guys, not having to specify like.
The main thing is making sure that the grave gets dug where it's supposed to be dug. That's where all that comes from.
And the proper specifications,
Right.
depth and everything.
Well, and I mean, the other thing that that avoids is that keeps somebody from parking a backhoe directly on top of somebody else's grave or,
Right.
you know. Because theoretically, you guys know where they are. Sometimes boundaries can, especially if they're right now, sometimes boundaries can be And I
That's
guess
one
I
of the
can't-
big.
totally be avoided maybe sometimes, but.
It should be
Right, yeah.
able,
Yeah.
because there's enough space between the separate. Cemetery, graveyard sections that. Someone who can operate a backhoe properly shouldn't have any trouble doing that.
right.
But you're right, it's not very well marked or delineated,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things that we're. Trying to get resolved, but
Right.
it's turning out to be trickier than we thought it was.
You're welcome to Bluff. What is it here? I had
All right.
I had one other question in regards to the plot abandonment. I don't necessarily know how that works with family plots, and I know that those can be a popular thing around here. The 60-year is kind of the question that I had. If I were to go buy a family plot right now, my kids will very likely still be alive in 60 years. So I don't want that to come into a condition of, oh, sorry, it's abandoned. You didn't bury yourself in here in your 60 years.
You didn't die in the timeline you were sleeping.
Right,
With your great
right.
health.
So I wonder if there's some way that we can adjust that.
Extended,
Yeah, I thought there was something in here about passing it on or.
There's,
extending
there
it.
is a transfer
burial
Transfer.
platform.
But I don't know if that, I mean, I don't know that that's transferring necessarily to. What I kind of considered the transfer was, well, we bought this plot, but now we've changed our minds, so we'll sell it to you.
Oh, my perception of it was exactly what you're describing, just
Okay.
that a family member is transferring to a different.
Okay,
family member.
okay.
But it could be.
well, we can extend it 100 years. But that. Or just say it's yours for life, but then. Well, there would be some unused plots. Which really wouldn't be a big issue.
Yeah, so we did. You have an issue with me, somebody else.
That's somebody else's problem.
The only other reason that I.
Ian, was there something that you're thinking of on that? Is there like a state law thing or something?
There is Utah Code H-5-3 has a 60-year abandonment clause, and so I think if you're going to extend that, probably need to figure out the legality of it. But it's considered abandoned after 60 years, and then you have to go through the steps of applying to the town or the county that you're in to extend that. So there's a process, but I don't see any reason you couldn't do a different time frame. You just want to be sure to adhere to that old section.
I guess that, I mean, I guess in hours, we don't see it as much either. I was just thinking specifically of back when we had the cemetery meeting, when we first started to talk about acquiring the cemetery and doing the cemetery board, that we had a lot of planning families that were down here, that my family plot is down here and this is where I'm going to be put. And I mean, those plots have been in process for hundreds of years, not just, you know, not just.
Could we just put in a phrase that says after 60 years, the family needs to just restate their desire?
Right, maybe that's a good way to work it is, you know, I mean, after 60 years, we need to. If there hasn't been any communication on this or something, it will be considered abandoned. Maybe that gets around that.
Yeah, I think that's probably, we need to look at the code a little bit and like, look at the language there, cause like. Any communication, wow, you know, like could be a while, like I think maybe we would just need to say, you know. Lots not used for 60 years per Utah code will need to be reapplied for or something, you know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I like the succinctness of just being like, yes, see Utah.
So let's take a look at that. It's hard to do live in a little bit.
And what is that code number? Utah Code, section 8-5-3. And it does lay out the language.
I think that's probably a good one for us just to like follow the Utah code and then.
Well, sir, I mean, I would imagine that the Utah code probably addresses that somehow, because.
It's Utah. There's so many legacy families.
Yeah, there's, and legacy family burials are a big deal. As we found out when we had more people from the Hole in the Rock in the room than we did from local residents, you know, I mean, they're.
I have other comments about that.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
All right, to keep us on track with our agenda, we have got another big agenda item coming up. I'll just say thanks for the hard work on this. Please. What's that?
Sorry to interrupt you. Tom has some information about funds.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
we had a purchase request. We want to purchase 2 signs that say essentially Bluff Cemetery. One that would go facing east at the east end of the cemetery, and another that would be about midway along the south border. And we've looked at some samples from a company called Smart Signs, and they're 16x16 aluminum signs. They're pretty durable. They're reflective, so that they'll be easy to see at night. And they're tasteful. And they're durable, and for both of them and the U-posts and hardware that wouldn't be needed to mount them would be about $317. And for the placement of the unknown burial markers, we wanted to purchase sand so that we could provide a base to level it and provide drainage. And that would cost just over $100. And we're also looking at some fencing to try to give a little more definition to, you know, where the grave sites are as opposed to the spaces in between. But that's something we're still looking at. But that's getting tricky. That starts to get into a lot of money, probably more than we have to spend, but we're not sure yet. We want to look at it.
Well, I would say, you know, keep working on it in the sense of, you know, as the town budget clarifies through the year and we do a budget amendment. Aaron, do you happen to remember what we ended up landing on for the budget of the cemetery hard costs?
It's $1,500 total, with 200 of that for just like general maintenance, like mowing. So they've got $1,300 in the budget.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think. Given like those expenses are within the budget, if you think those are the high priority, it doesn't seem to be a problem for us to move forward with that.
Okay,
And then the fencing, it would be more like, okay, yeah, that probably is a bigger project. Maybe we have to save for that next year, you know, maybe you do a fundraiser, you know, something like that effect, but the basics you're talking about are within that budget, and it totally seems appropriate to go forward with that. My one piece of advice is just on the signs, is that if we're placing them for the purpose I think you are, which is kind of like the two sides of the cemetery, that we make sure and use the word town, like Bluff Town Cemetery, so it just distinguishes between the other cemetery that's
Yeah.
up there.
well, yeah, we played around with some language and it did include town of Bluff, so. We haven't figured out exactly what we want to say. We'd be more than happy to run it by you before we make
As
purchase.
long as the word town is in there, you know, just it's
You're good.
obviously separating, you know.
And, and thinking like much longer term. We're suspecting that for the new section of the cemetery to be actually useful and accessible, there's gonna need to be a road of some kind put down along the south side of it. That's a big expense. So the estimate that we got from Mike was about $10,000.
South side?
Yeah,
Kind of like from where the current cemetery road curves down the hill, continuing it as a straight edge along the new property line.
Along that, okay, I got you, yeah.
and then, you know, right now the cemetery is a place where people can go and bury their loved ones, but there's nothing about it that announces cemetery. We know what it is, but,
Yeah.
and so I guess we wanted to know, we were hoping that the council could have a discussion about what your vision for it is and how much resources you're willing to put into it or able to put into it. Because it could be very expensive, or we could just continue to operate the same way it always has.
Yeah. I think it's a good question for us to think about. I mean, obviously in the budget this year, we did not prioritize
Right.
like doing a big, revamp of the thing. But I think that's something like we can think about as we do, as you all keep working on it and, I think it's something we kind of have to gauge the interest of the community and how much
Right.
we want to invest in that versus like all the other things that we want to spend money on and. Is kind of the way it is now fine, or do we want to make it something a little, more official?
Or maybe we could pick up pieces of stuff you wanted, like the fence first, and the road, or and build towards the road, or. something
Well,
like
yeah, but
that.
that would make sense. It's hard for us as a cemetery board to make plans or decisions if we don't know what the parameters are for us. So if we could get a better sense of what the town's investment in it would be, and yeah, maybe put out some kind of survey or something, ask the people, I mean, it's not a big rush, so people aren't dropping dead all over the place.
No, but I mean, this is to Anne's credit, she got kind of this started and then we kind of have to figure out like, yeah, how big of a deal is this? I mean, in my view, again, yeah, like you said, it's not a rush, but it is like, it's a long-term thing of the community. It's like. We've all been to those places where the cemetery is all run down and it doesn't really say much good about the community, then you're visiting and how you respect that. On the other hand, you see the, gold plated cemetery stuff. And I'm like, man, you guys got your priorities wrong, so it seems like maybe there's a balance to be had there and we make small baby steps, add. That would be what Britt was saying would be my inclination. It's like, yeah, I think like some sort of fencing or something like very appropriate. It's crazy expensive. We have to decide when we can afford to do it, but like.
There are a lot of different options that we looked at, from very expensive to, basically yard fencing that you could just stick in the ground. And we could go and do it ourselves. So there are a lot of options, but till we have a better sense of, how big we can go with this, it's hard to make decisions.
I mean, my thought would be, let me know if the other council members disagree, but it's kind of like, let's make these kind of baby steps. If you can look into what, some reasonably solid fencing would be, that looks decent but isn't crazy expensive. The road, for example, seems like if we did it when we have other contractors around, it'd be a lot cheaper than like doing a one-off up there. Like we could work with Michael to be like, well, when could we work that in with another project? Like we can be smart about it like that. And then we can have more discussions about it as we do our budgeting process.
I think targeting these like functional things, like things that are gonna make it work well and legally and reduce problems. It's like the way to go first, and then like anything that would be nice to have, but not necessary for legalities and function.
Yeah.
And we can build it in to get to it.
Our priorities are kind of centered around what really kind of needs to be there.
Yeah.
And nice can come later.
Cool. Everybody feel
Yeah.
comfortable with the expenditures that?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
As long as they meet the sign permit ordinance.
It will, we promise.
That was the first question Aaron asked when he.
Don't be testing that.
Stereotypical, but.
What if we went with a large sandstone sign like we have coming into the town?
Massive.
That'd be good looking.
Hey, that's
Stick
the
a
sign.
wagon next to it.
Well,
He's
these,
just thinking
these,
that, Aaron. I want that too, Aaron.
these will suffice for now, and then the people, the future generations can make a decision about the big sandstone stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, we did get some quotes for like just those little unmarked grave markers. Some local folks were quoting like 1 square foot for $185 per, so if you wanna size that up. We got it much cheaper, don't worry, we did our. Yeah.
And where are y'all using?
Yeah, we'll wait maybe a couple of years.
What are
for
y'all
big
using to
model Of
Right.
sandstone.
It's
Currently
a,
rebar.
it's a,
Yeah, it's
well,
rebar now, but.
it's about a 1 by 1 brick.
Okay.
It's a red brick and it's a black tray of unknown.
Okay, okay, cool.
So it's very simple
Awesome.
and. Can't think of the word I'm thinking of. Not too fancy.
It looks like you can move on, I'll just.
All right. Thanks so much to both of you.
Yeah, thank
for
you.
listening.
We'll get to working on that and get on a future agenda to make those additions.
Oh, those are nice.
And we'll like set them into the soil.
Have a good one.
Happy Valentine's Day.
The next agenda item, and we just thought it would be worth a quick discussion of kind of revenue projections and tourism outlook. Aaron attended yesterday.
Yes, Jen and I both.
Both, you all both did. It'd be helpful to kind of hear what people are saying, what data maybe they shared. We certainly will be doing a budget amendment at some point this year, and we'll see how revenues go, but it's worth us kind of getting an economic sense, just since most of our revenues are dependent on tourism, to get a sense of how things are going. And I don't know if either one of you are willing to do a little bit of a report there.
Do you wanna start with me?
I am going to say that the sentiments that were expressed at the TTAB meeting as to numbers were a little bit confusing yesterday. Generally, Allison goes off of, they go off of tax collections, but another thing that they use for that is something called Visa View, which, tracks that our Visa spends. Visa credit cards release that data to the county. And there were some discrepancies in that report yesterday, so that Allison was gonna follow up and try to figure that out.
We can say that like revenues through May looks very strong.
Right.
They were over.
Right.
Prior year, but again, that is not impacting our fiscal year. The only thing that it benefits, and you've already seen it in. The most recent fiscal numbers that came out a week ago is that like our previous year is looking better, that'll carry over. However, then we get into July where the general consensus in the room is, it feels very flat. It feels, I'm hearing the word like dropping off a cliff. There were a lot of like negative.
Airplane crashes.
Yes, they were describing airplanes like nosediving. So the general consensus was like July was very soft. So our the first real month of the fiscal year. We will not have that data for 2 months, or another month.
That was the other confusing thing, so it's
Yeah.
the numbers that we actually get from the tax commission seem to be skewed by about 2 months.
Yeah, so we're very much going off of qualitative data versus quantitative data. And the qualitative data from the general consensus in the room, it's feeling flat, things are down. They talked about the wildfire, they talked about Bears Ears National Monument, and how to do messaging around that. Because, you know, two pretty big negative things that happened over the summer. So it is not good to hear that the rest of the county, of course, has felt this as well. One interesting thing that we've seen over the last couple of quarters at the Tourism Tax Board is that Bluff is no longer, Bluff is no longer the golden child in terms of TRT. Blanding has surpassed us in terms of TRT collected. They definitely have more entities that are probably able to collect.
You know what I also wonder about with that though, is that I think that Blanding gets a lot more of the state contracts and the road contracts and things like that, so. So the construction guys will stay on Blanding as opposed to staying down here, so. Because we've had a softer tourism year there and they've probably had a stronger occupancy there. That could be the fluctuation that we're seeing in TRT collection. Correct.
And so what you're saying is the visa numbers, they didn't have anything good for us because there was a problem with that.
It seems like there was a reporting error.
Yeah. Yeah, and
that
Allison will
versus,
correct that.
yeah,
but-
so versus prior, we don't have as good of a sense of what's going on. So
That
not
was
to say that,
domestic.
Yeah.
Well, for example, the domestic spends compared to last year were down by like 33 and 44%. Which, and it was the way that it was laid out across the board, something got reported incorrectly. Or maybe it didn't, because domestic people don't travel here in summer. We've all known that for a long time.
Yeah. All right, well, something I think we should keep our eye on, in terms of our budgeting, it seems like we want to be fairly conservative with our spending in the first part of this year, just because, you know, if the plane crashes, falls off the cliff, whatever bad metaphor you want to use happens, we won't have already kind of pre-spent our money too much that we budgeted, and then, you know, if we need to make it, well, we don't need to make a budget amendment at some point in the year to just correct a few items that we've already noticed. Then we can do that.
I will say I really appreciate the business owners in Bluff. Not business owners of Bluff Association, but the business owners of Bluff. I sent out a survey prior to going to that tourism tax board meeting, and I got a lot more responses this time. So appreciate you guys if you're listening in. And of course, they're always welcome to reach out, you know, to any of the council members, as well as myself sitting on the board representing the town, if they have things that they'd like to pass along to Allison, or just that the town should be aware of. And there are some additional recommendations and just thoughts that I'll share with Josh, and we'll schedule in if any action items are needed.
I want to, as a business, I'm changing hats now, as a business owner, I appreciate Aaron sending out those surveys, because I think that's a good way to communicate with the business owners as to what we're doing with TTAB, and kind of makes them feel a little more involved.
Yeah, we
So
represent that.
Kudos on
so
that.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, well, we're running behind where I would hope we were. The big agenda item for the day is to talk about employee benefits policy. I'm not sure there's a lot here, but I don't think we have a lot to debate, hopefully, but we'll see. You guys, you'll have to tell us as we go through it. You'll see in your packet, kind of some slides that Aaron put together to help walk us through. I've got some, separate notes of what I felt like are kind of the policy decision points for us to work on. But just to set the stage, in our budgeting process, we already made essentially the policy decision that we think it's a good idea to invest in our employees of the town by providing benefits, health and retirement benefits. That was a pretty general policy decision, but we don't actually have an employee benefits policy of any sort on the books. And we felt like it was really important next step to actually like lay out those employee benefits so that future current employees can know what to expect and future employees can know what we're offering. So we're in that process of trying to like actual write up an employee benefits policy. And as we do that, there are some decision points and kind of policy decisions for the council to make along the way. So where we're going is, and we're not doing this tonight, obviously, but where we're going is having a written policy that we can vote on and approve as normal policy of the town. One more thing as a setting the stage, I think, you know, from at least where I'm coming at this from, and where I think our previous policy on the budget is that for our town to be successful with limited employees, we really want to make sure that those employees are well taken care of, that their health is taken care of, they're compensated at least somewhat fairly, you know, compared to other towns, and we have a good chance of retaining them. You know, when you've got a staff of as small as we have and you lose even one person, it's a really big deal. And so retention is a super important goal. And so I think the goal of the policy is really retention and employee well-being and investing in that piece. So Aaron and I have done a lot of talking about this back and forth, and so kind of putting some recommendations in front of you, and then we'll highlight where we think like, you know, some of the decision points might be. And so if you want to pull up that deck you have, we can maybe kind of just walk that through. I have to admit, I'm not sure if my notes match up with the deck, so I may just have to jump. So I'll maybe follow you. And then jump in with the decision points that I have.
Alrighty, so kind of the overview, and I have it in Excel, and then you guys have a PDF that's gonna be a lot easier to print than Excel. So the first page kind of goes over what Josh was just talking about. It gives a little background on our current state. And then would start proposing some breakdowns of employee classification. So as we're talking through the next couple slides, we're talking full-time employees. Those would be employees averaging 36 and above hours per week. Part-time employees averaging 20 to 35 and a half hours per week. And then limited part-time employees. This is an employee who is fewer than 20 hours a week on average. And so with that, I should go too many bars here. Here we go.
And that is, I think, is a little bit of an important policy decision that we break that out, because we're gonna then say employees of certain classes get certain benefits later on. For example, we're only saying at the moment that we'll have healthcare for the full-time people, 36 plus. There are plenty of people that do other things, but for a town of our size with the budget that we have.
Here's my question with that, and maybe this doesn't apply maybe to people that we currently have as limited part-time employees, but is there an option for health insurance specific that if you work for the town of Bluff, I mean, okay, I'm gonna use myself as an example here. Because I'm self-employed, I don't have a health policy even offered to me. So if I were to work for the town of Bluff or something, if I would be able to use that health insurance network, not having the town pay for it, but to be able to pay for my own package, I wonder if that would be something that we could put out. I don't know if that's possible or not. But
So I
we did something similar to that with the school district. At one point in time, it was like, yeah, you can get UHS, but you have to pay for it.
So I believe that that is an option, and if it is something that we're seeking that isn't an option through PEHP, then we could seek a different provider. Clearly there are benefits through going through the public employees stuff, because they're just really good rates. But I can definitely get a confirmed answer to that, because I do think that that's a good point. I know for the limited part-time employees, as we currently have them set, we would, of course, up to the individual employee. I don't know if the wages that we're paying them, it could be that like they're actually paying the town because they aren't earning enough to
Right,
cover that
right,
policy.
Right, and that's what I mean, is
yeah.
that it just gives them an avenue to purchase health insurance through that could be something. Could be a cheaper avenue than they could find, I'm
On
just
their
going out and
Yeah.
trying to find it on their own.
No, that's a great point.
But it wouldn't cost the town, I don't
No.
think it would cost the town any money, I think it would just.
We just have to see if PEHP allows that.
Mhm.
I guess my question for you would be, at least for me, there's a real value of using PHP because it's what the other towns and cities and states use. We're not going shopping on this crazy marketplace that we're going for a, thing.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say is that issue important enough to you that we would consider something beyond PHP? Or if PHP doesn't allow that, you're still okay with us using PHP?
I think that we could look at PEHP, I just thought that if it was something that PEHP would allow, that might be another benefit. For some of our, even
Yeah.
fewer hours than, or whatever, limited part-time employees, it's like, hey. If you're interested in health insurance, this is an option, does it?
An avenue that you could
Yeah.
pursue, I don't know if PHP allows that, but let's check.
I will definitely get answer to that. So I might skip to the end of the deck here just to kind of give you a quick overview of the positions. And how they are currently set. So as we kind of talk through, you could kind of in your mind think about how many employees these policies could be impacting. So we've got position, classification, compensation, and the approximate schedule. The hours per week make a really big difference because it definitely will impact the eligibility for URS, Utah Retirement System. And so their limit is 20 hours per week. So the employee has to be averaging at least 20 hours a week in order to be eligible to participate in URS. They also have to have some other paid benefit. So they have to have, we're paying for health insurance, we're paying for time off or something like that. So it's kind of that combo, 20 hours a week plus a paid benefit to participate in URS. Going back over here, I wanted this to be a pretty all-inclusive policy if we're gonna put something on the books. So some of, as Josh mentioned, some of these less important than others, clearly like holidays, those are already kind of like known things. But I think the big ones that we're gonna walk through would be health insurance, PTO, retirement, and maternity or postpartum recovery leave. So for health insurance, PEHP is the Public Employees Health Program. It is Utah-based. And so you have to be accepted into their program. Of course, as a local government, we are eligible. The recommendation that we're putting out for discussion would be that full-time permanent employees would be eligible for this. The main reason for this is because PHP requires that the employer pay 100% of the employee's premium. So the employee is not paying in anything for participation in this. It is the entity who is paying for it. I will also look and see if there's like an option, if it's like a part-time employee or something, if there's a percentage. The recommendation would be that if the employee wanted to have coverage for spouse or dependents, that would be the employee's responsibility, not the town's.
Hey, time out. We have PHP with San Juan School District. And that's not the case that the school district pays 100% of the employee.
Interesting.
Yeah. I
So,
was gonna say, take this.
yeah, cause we pay over $350.
It's fun.
Just for her part,
I was gonna say, is that?
just her.
but Yeah.
If I wasn't there, it's $350. Just for her.
I will take a look. I received a quote in December from these guys directly. And that was how it was explained and what's in the package.
Cause I mean, if that's the case, then I wanna
You're gonna
I
go.
mean, cause yeah,
Conflict of interest. Yeah.
and it's never, I've had PHP for a bazillion years and it's never been the case that the town paid or the city paid 100%.
Huh,
They paid a percentage and the employee always had to pay a percentage.
But they told you,
So, and what I saw, so we did do some comparisons and like the city of Landing. Sorry, I should not throw. There are cities in San Juan County that they pay 100% of the employees' premium, and they actually pay for the families too. So I will
And I
definitely,
doubt, I
I'll
don't
definitely make
doubt
sure
that, I
to
just
see,
don't
like,
think it's fair that the town picks
where-
up that.
let me take a look
Full
and see the requirements on that one.
Yeah, so looking into that, I think this was gonna be one of the policy points for me. In terms of, what we decide we want to cover. In my view, paying for the premium for an employee, a full-time employee, is a reasonable investment in the employees of the town. And it's, to me, for a teeny, small town like us, it would be way too much to pay for dependents, you know, like Landing does. So the question is, how much do you pay? You know, how much does the town invest in health insurance for the full-time employees? So I don't think there's a question that we are gonna provide health insurance for non-full-time employees. Anybody? So then the question is, if we're required by PHP, then we have to do, you know, we have to do what PHP does. I would set that aside for a moment. In my view, I think you have to set you're gonna pay a certain amount of a premium. So it's either 100%, 80%, 90, you know, whatever. But what coverage level? So what we looked at is there's multiple PHP plans, obviously, different levels. And my recommendation that I made to Aaron, it would be that we would cover the highest level HSA plan, health savings account plan. What that is basically it's the highest level of the high deductible plans. So if you're not familiar, it's the health insurance is all gonna sound like a lot of different mumbo jumbo. But basically, an HSA plan allows you to put aside some of your own money to pay for health insurance later on. But it is a high deductible plan, so you'd have to pay quite a bit out of your own pocket for a deductible of the plan. The reason why I think that's the most fair is, one, is we probably can't afford to pay the most premium level, which you can see is you know, almost $2,000 more than the HSA level per employee. But I also think there's kind of a fairness level where if you allow the employee to qualify for an HSA, then the people that don't use insurance a lot can put money in. So particularly young people, they can save for the future. But if you offer a plan that's higher than that, then they can't save, they don't qualify for an HSA. So a lot of people will put the amount that they pay at that level of the HSA. Then unless things have changed, the PHP would allow the employee to pay more out of their paycheck to get a higher level plan. Right, like they could get a higher level plan if they wanted. It's not saying they have to do an HSA, but that we would essentially cover like that. So to me, this is kind of like the amount that we budgeted for this would cover, you know, covering the premium, the full premium for our employees at that level of the highest level HSA. And so, but that is kind of the policy, you know, we have to say in the policy, we'll cover X amount.
Gary, your concern might fall under the considerations portion. Groups of four or fewer employees must pay 100% enrollment. But
Okay, what's right?
So that's just that, all eligible employees, so groups of 4 or fewer employees must have 100% enrollment. So that would mean all eligible employees must enroll with them.
Yeah.
I get that, but I've gotta I'll definitely take a look at the match.
So this is kind of a key, decision point for us. We budgeted enough to cover it, but then we're thinking about like, what is it we're gonna offer going forward? And so, it was my thinking that we would cover the full cost of the highest level HSA for each full-time employee, which you can see is about $6,700 a year. But that is a question for us to decide. If PHP allows us to decide, if we don't cover 100%, or if we cover some other level, like the lowest level HSA, like we'll cover the lowest level plan offered. And then if you want anything higher, you have to pay out of your own pocket. People have thoughts?
Well, the difference between the highest coverage and the lowest coverage HSA, like, isn't enough of a difference for me to go with the low one, you know what I mean? Might as well go with the high one. That was, what's that, $3,000?
Between 5,400 and 6,700.
Yeah, yeah, it's not worth worrying about. If you get better coverage that way, then I'm for going with that. And HSAs are nice. Because they can also be used for things that are outside the coverage of the policy. So that's helpful.
That's my thought. If you're a younger person, doesn't use healthcare very much, but you need to go to a chiropractor or something, you can use your HSA if you have it available to you.
And we do have back to PHP and an HSA. I mean, there's a set plan and some of it. None of it required an HSA, but they gave the option of an HSA.
Right.
And so I don't know. The coverage with it versus the other. But we can add in, like you said, to the HSA to cover medical expenses, co-pays, all of that.
Yeah, we wouldn't be telling them you have to get an HSA.
Right.
We would just be telling them, we're paying this amount of money and we're tacking the amount of money to how much PHP charges for that level of plan. That is the idea.
Unless PHP says we have to cover 100%, I would say come up with a percentage. Because down the road, we won't just have 2 full-time employees. Hopefully we have a lot more. And at that time, do we change it and say, okay, now we're cutting your benefits back?
A percentage of what?
Of that monthly premium. So that the employee pays some and the town pays some. Instead of paying the 100% of it, unless PHP says we have to pay it.
Yeah, okay, I got what you're saying. You're saying that we ought to cover a percentage of a premium level. And I'm saying, okay, let's make that decision in a second. A percentage of what is what I'm essentially saying. And I'm saying we would pay what we're paying to this highest level HSA. We'd either do 100% of that or some percentage.
So I did find it, so the packet that I got, this winter says the employer is required to contribute either 100% of the single premium or a minimum of 50% of the single, double, and family premiums.
50%. It says of the single, double, and family.
Yeah, the employer, just reading it out loud, the employer is required to contribute either 100% of the single premium or a minimum of 50% of the single, double, and family premiums. That is clear as mud.
Yeah, that's how they rolled it at all.
As a
I think if you're saying that if you're ever going, like if the employee is electing to have their family and dependents on the plan, if you are giving them the option, which I think you kind of have to, then no matter what, you're gonna pay 50%. So whether it's just the individual or you have employees who want to have their families on the plan, the town is then responsible for 50% of that family's plan.
Yeah, well, that may be right, but that sentence is horrible. Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
reach out.
it
to
does,
them.
yeah, I mean, it says single again,
Right.
single family.
Single family. I mean, you're a single person, you're calling yourself a family?
With San Juan County, a single person is $350. If you add two people on, then the part of the employee is about the same.
Okay,
But they
we
don't
will,
do
we'll clarify this for the point of moving on. Let's just do a quick straw poll. Cause I think this is an important decision point. Do people think we ought to pay 100% of whatever premium level we offer or some smaller percentage? And would you put out a percentage that you think we ought to pay?
I'd like to look into it more to see how much these other places are paying. Before I just say, oh, 50 or, 100.
I mean, like, if it is 300, if the school district is doing $350, is that 350? That's gotta be $350 a month.
Yeah.
So that'd be 30.
Is that what the school district's paying, or is
Well,
that?
that's what the employee-
That's.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing the math in my head, so that'd be like.
And then the premium, for what I
$4,500 a
gather,
year or something.
is higher than the 350, but they just pay a percentage. And the employee has to pay a percentage, which is the $350. Then if they want double coverage, it's more. They want family coverage, it's more. But
And you said that town of Blanding does 100% for for employees and family?
Yeah, and if the employee does not want coverage for the family, then the city of Blanding will pay $12,000 to $15,000 to the employee as a stipend for not.
good lord.
For not doing it.
Damn.
I mean, I mean, right in their policy, they're like, we're a benefits heavy thing, like we wanna, we wanna retain employees with high levels of benefits rather than necessarily high salaries.
Which I mean, I'm very much on I have a conflict of interest because Malia's in here, but even without Malia in a paid town position, I would err on the side of covering all of it and providing the best benefit package we could. If we have the money for it. Cause we will get better employees and be able to retain them, and I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's a balance, right? Because like. I don't think we're ever gonna have 20 employees for the town of Bluff, but we might have 5 instead of 2 full-time people, right? And at that point, the difference between a lower level plan and a higher level plan is, $3,000. So then, if that's 5 employees, that's $15,000 difference.
Yeah, exactly.
In the perspective of our town budget, that's not a huge amount of money. But it is it is significant.
Yeah.
But that's where I was like trying to get a sense of folks is like, do we want to cover 100% or less? And if it's 100%, 100% of what level of a plan?
Yeah, I'm fine with 100% as well. Mostly because if neighboring towns are doing it, that's fine, but just for the employee, not the family. And then I'm for the highest coverage star HSA.
You have a thought, Jen?
I kind of agree with the highest coverage star HSA. I am curious as to what the differences are. And maybe that's what the difference is that it's the highest star HSA rather than the highest cover of a traditional package. I don't know. I see Gary's point too. That if we do get bigger, but if we get bigger, theoretically, we have more revenue coming in to cover these things, so.
What the school district does is they break it down and offer different
Different
groups,
packages.
different packages you can choose.
Yeah,
Whether
gold,
you
silver,
want the
Bronze is what it used to
the
be.
bronze, copper.
Yeah, you would still be able to do all that. You can pick whatever you want. It's just, we're gonna pay X amount. That's what we're trying to decide is.
Right.
Up to the
Employee-
star package.
You're gonna pay, so the proposal that I suggested is, for example, we would pay $6,773.28. If you want anything better than that,
Then that's on you.
that's on you.
It's fair.
You know, that would be a thing. And then if insurance rates went up next year and that same plan cost $7,000, we would pay $7,000, right? Like it's not a set amount of money. It's, well, we'll pay for this level of a plan. And then the people can pick whatever they want. Now, if they pick a plan that's lower, which would be silly for them to do, we're not gonna give them extra money back. But that would just be the way we don't have to do it that way.
No, I like it. I mean, I'm glad to hear we've got options at all, so being small like this.
Well, that's the benefit of being in town, right, is you can, if you're, there's your partnership, you don't have nearly these
No,
options.
not at all.
You're not getting nearly this plan for this.
Well, and that's why I say even with the other employees, that, you know, I mean, if this is something that, you know, I mean, Town of Bluff isn't gonna cover this, but if you have this option package to pick from for yourself, your family or whatever, that could be a benefit in it as well, because I certainly don't have something like this to look at.
Yeah. so, Yeah.
We'll look at what.
Yeah.
PHP is required, that may just answer our question for us, and if not, we can come back and. It seems like the sense of folks is that we would cover the employees at that kind of level. All right, sorry. So that we're not here all night, let's try to keep going. Holidays, I think, pretty general, we would just go with the state holidays, everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
Paid time off is another, little bit of a tricky one for everybody's, kind of reminder, and those new on, you know, so the kind of current policy is essentially, use what time you need policy. It's a essentially unlimited vacation time policy. While I'm like kind of theoretically supportive of that sort of thing, it doesn't really work if you're also doing like maternity leave and these other sorts of deals, because you're like, well, why have maternity leave if you have unlimited vacation? You just take your unlimited vacation, right? Like, so like, and I think it's like, it's something that works well when you have a couple of employees that you know well and not so well as a long-term policy. So what we're thinking is moving from the current policy, which is essentially a honor system sort of policy, to do an accrual policy. Where full-time employees start off at 15 days a year, accruing at a rate of 15 days a year. And they get an additional day a year accrual. Up to a maximum of 25 days a year. So again, then that gets a little bit complex. And of course, existing employees, we would skip them up to be like, you're not having to accrue at, you know, start back at the beginning. So essentially, if I've got my math right, you know, if you start at 15 days a year, it would take you 10 years to get to 25 days a year. So essentially go from 3 weeks to 5 weeks, and then that would cap out and you would never get more than 5 weeks a year. My math everybody following my math on that one? So, for example, for Erin, you've been with us for
Just over 4 years.
4 years now, so she would start off right now at 19 days of vacation. And then each year get an extra day.
No, I like it, and it helps to have these things defined for my recruitment. Say, this is what you're getting off, not, you'll see when you get here, I think.
Yeah, like, we might work you so hard you can't ever take vacation.
Yeah. So,
And then, in terms of rollover, it'd be like a day and a half, 1.5 times that. So like if your maximum was 20 days, you could roll over those 20 days plus 10. So you could only have 30 days banked essentially.
I'm fine with it. I like it.
Yeah, I like the roller over portion. It's certainly been in situations where you didn't use your holiday, or if you didn't use your PTO, you just lost it by the end of the year. And I think that really sucks.
Yeah, so. Well, then it just ends up with everybody taking wild time off.
Or you lose a bunch of PTO because you work in a job where you can't take any days off and you don't use your vacation and then lose your PTO, which really sucks.
But there is a maximum where you can't
Yeah.
bank an unlimited amount.
Yeah.
We do want people taking vacation and we can't afford to, cash someone out when they leave for a crazy amount of vacation time.
So after 1 year, they accrue it at a
They-
faster rate?
Yeah, they accrue at a faster rate each year. So
Okay,
you start off accruing at a rate of 15 days a year.
right?
And then the next year you accrue at a rate of 16 days a year and 17 days a year. Like you accrue at a longer rate up to that maximum of 25. So your accrual rate increases, the rate doesn't increase each year, but it increases by a day each year.
Well, I think that's an incredible benefit that I've never seen offered before at any place I've worked. You've always just accrued it at the same amount each year. So technically after, say you didn't take any days off for 2 years, you'd have 30 days. And you can only carry 25, or you can carry as much as you want up to.
In this one, if it was 15, you would be able to carry 15 plus half of that, 7.5. So you'd be able to carry 22.5 to the next year.
If you didn't use any of them.
If you didn't use any vacation.
So it just, to me, that just encourages people to stay on because, okay, this year you get 15 days, next year you get 16 days, but and if you can't ever cure more than 30 days. Am I understanding that correctly? I mean, like if I banked 3 years of vacation time, I couldn't.
Yeah,
couldn't
it
use all
kinda
of that,
caps
I
out.
mean, it's.
You can't do 3 years, you can only
Right.
do 1.5 years.
Right.
If you took 0 days off for a
Yeah.
year. You could
Then
carry,
next year you could take. You could take
then you can
last
only
year's and this year's.
accrue to a certain amount. I mean, this is where I am with my job. This is essentially the accrual rate we have now. I can't accrue anymore because I just haven't been able to take time off. So
Right,
I'm like,
right.
I'm stuck, like I can't accrue anymore because I accrued the max that I can.
And this is how we do it at work as well, like. Each year, different levels of employment get different rate. Agree.
But I would imagine like at the state, like if you'd been there longer, you don't get more vacation or everybody.
You do it, I mean, not every year.
Yeah.
They may do it on your 5th year anniversary if you've reached a next level in whatever it is in progression. But I mean, for every year.
Yeah, so
I mean,
that's a
15
different
days
level,
plus
like a lot of.
13 days of holiday.
Look at the federal level. It's how much vacation you get is like what, based off of what level you're at. So if you're a GS9 or whatever, you get this much vacation. If you're a GS11, you get another level of vacation. It's just kind of hard to have those kind of levels in a little town. Again, we don't have to do it this way. If like other people have a different way of doing it, like if you're there 5 years, you get an extra 550. I don't know.
I mean, and that's why we do it at work, is try to just do any incentive to keep people on for longer than a handful of years.
Just one of the biggest issues in a rural area like this.
But I mean, 15 days plus 12, 13 holidays, that's it. good healthy chunk of time off.
And it moved to the middle of nowhere to enjoy it.
I think, I mean, I think it's.
I'm all for accruing it every hour they work, you know?
It's, the
But you
question
can't-
is the rate of accrual, like how many days of vacation you get per year. You know, some places start at 2 weeks of vacation a year. This is basically starting at 3 weeks of vacation. a year.
And it's not uncommon to see 5, like as a package now, so starting with 5, so.
And a $10,000 sign-on bonus.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
No,
For teachers and stuff.
no, I'm just saying that I think that like productivity, I mean, I don't know, I'm a personal big believer as productivity has skyrocketed. It's wild to me that we don't take more all the time than.
I mean, there was a big study that Google did a while ago where they gave their employees more time off and they saw their productivity just significantly increase throughout their entire organization. It's like we increased some time off and it was like, oh yeah. People are happier, they work harder and get more done.
Yeah, so I'm aiming for it at that rate, that doesn't seem. In years to max out, it's pretty good.
What are your thoughts, Jen?
I think our employees are very important, and I don't think that any single one of this people on this council will go back to a council with no full-time employees, so. I think we need to make some concessions like that. I certainly don't want to see our town manager go up to Blanding because they offer a 10 times better employee package than we do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, and all of us are in that same boat. I'm more saying like, what is a reasonable amount of vacation to offer? You know, this is 3 weeks vacation basically
I
versus.
so wonder, in truth and reality. I don't think I've ever seen Erin take 3 weeks off. I don't think I've seen Malia take 3 weeks off,
But I will caution you though, like the goal of all of this, and that's why, I mean, it's so hard to remove our names from the position.
No, I know.
Like, but I do
But-
want to encourage you to
No,
think
I'm
the
just,
position.
no, I'm just saying that in that position, I mean, it's not like. I mean. And I'm not saying that for you, I just know in my own personal experience too, it's like, yes, this is nice to have this offered, in reality, does it ever really get used? I guess you could have the employee that's up, I got 3 weeks off.
Well, I think you have to assume, being smart, you have to assume that people will take the benefits you offer.
Yeah.
If they don't, that's
That's
kind
on
of
them.
their,
It's on them.
well, somewhat on them and also on us. We want to create an environment where people feel comfortable taking time off. You know, my personal job, I can never take my vacation. It sucks.
Well, and
I can never do that.
That's what I'm
And,
saying too.
and that, but
Josh.
that's kind of on my employer. It's not just me. It is partly me, but it's also on my employer. All that aside, where, the kind of point is like, how much vacation do we want to offer our employees? And this is 3 weeks, gradually increasing to 5 weeks if you stay with us for a decade. If you're with us for a decade, you get 5 weeks vacation. So I guess my point, like Gary, your thoughts, like how much would you think would be like kind of like the amount that you would think we should start people off? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What?
I'm all for, yeah, I mean, give them the time off, but then just keep accruing it. Every year, but to bump it up every year,
So when would you bump it up?
5 years.
And how much would you bump it up at 5 years?
Then give them an extra day or two a year. I mean, I'm all for offering a great benefits package. But I'm still thinking, I mean, our budgets, okay, we can afford it this year. We just lost Twin Rocks. Who could we lose next? Where we're gonna be losing revenue each year because of tourism or whatever, and how long we'll be able to afford to keep it up. I mean, I never thought Twin Rocks would go.
Yeah. Well, no, I think you're bringing up a good point. I guess my point would be, if we lock half of our town budget, I would still invest in the employees first and cut lots of other things before I would cut the employees personally. To Jen's point, I just don't want to be on a council where I don't have staff, you know, it's like, we just need our.
Especially who we've got.
Our staff. Yeah, but we need our staff, so I mean, I could see our budget going down, like, because we're so reliant on tourism revenues. I could see our budget going down by 20%, even in a year, it could go down by 20%. I still wouldn't want to cut the employee salaries and stuff like that, I would try to cut other things first.
And even if we let them accrue it at the same rate, and then every anniversary, you get an extra 8 hours. On top of your accrual, you don't accrue at a different rate after that. Just on your anniversary, okay, you've made your anniversary, you get an extra day vacation this coming year.
I don't think the accrual rate increased, did it? It was a consistent rate throughout, or
That's what he was saying, was it?
So what I'm envisioning, so at each employee's anniversary date, you would take the total number of vacation hours. So let's say it would be 128 hours at year 2. 128 hours divided by their average pay period hours equals their accruing rate. So, and that's why there's a different part-time employee accrual rate as well. So that one's a little bit lower because they're working fewer hours. It's not just for like, yeah, so you would just take the total rate divided by their total hours. That's the accrual rate, but it would equal to an additional day of pay for each, or an additional PTO day.
But then they'd accrue it at higher rate from then on. Until the
Correct,
next
yeah,
one.
each year it is stepped up, that the accrual rate goes up to equal that number of days off for the given year. Once they've used those days, they can't accrue anymore that year. Like if they've used 15 days, doesn't really matter. It resets on their anniversary date and then they can start accruing days again
At a higher rate.
at a higher rate. To equal the
to
128
to
hours.
just equal the extra day though.
Correct.
It's a higher rate, but it's not exponential.
It's not a faster rate,
Right.
but it's a higher, it's just like you get one more day a year, basically. So this year, if you start at 15, this year you get 15, the next year you get 16, the next year you get 17, next year you get 18. Just one day more per year of vacation that you get. Is the way this is worded. You could also do it, every X years, every 3 years, you get extra vacation, or every 2 years or whatever, we can structure it however we want to. This is just kind of easy, like it's not complex to remember, you just get an extra day a year, but. For full-time employees, obviously, part-time, you reaccrue at a, lower rate. So. We all want to maintain our employees, but what do you think about 15 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, or would you propose something different?
I guess I'm kind of confused about the whole thing at this point.
15 days a year?
Yeah.
And 16 days a year?
Yeah.
And 17 days a year?
I-
Just one extra day a year.
I kind of thought that that's kind of what Gary was just saying, you hit your anniversary, you get another day off, but you're just saying that if you hit your anniversary, basically you kind of maintain at 16 days.
Yeah, then the next anniversary, you get an extra day. Then next, you get your 16, you get a year, you get your 16.
Yeah,
And then you keep accruing it at 15 days per year. And when you hit year 2, you get an extra day. So you just get a bonus day,
right.
but you don't accrue it at any different rate than 15 days a
But
year.
so, okay, say year 1, you get 15 days, year 2, you get an extra day, so then you're at 16. Then at year 3, do you get 2 extra days? Or you still stay at one extra day? So basically you can get 16 days a year. Is that?
Oh, so you're saying max out at 16?
Yeah, or bump it to like 5 years. You know, you work for 5 years, then you start accruing at a different higher rate. Or 2 years.
Yeah, maybe it makes sense to expand I mean. Maybe if you made it at 2 years, that gives people the incentive to stay there at, you know, I mean. I don't know, it's very confusing to me.
All right, well, I'll suggest that people think about this. If you have specific proposals, maybe put them into us and we can put it, you know, we can put it together for a vote. Which way to do it and see which way we have, you know. A consent, not necessarily a consensus, but a quorum, 3 people vote for a policy.
When are you hoping to have this done by?
Well, I mean, we. We put in our budget to start offering benefits. It seems to me wise to give our employees to start doing it, but we need a policy to start doing it. So, I mean, I guess we can sign up for PHP, but then what do we send the money to PHP to do? Like, we need to make these, you know, we need to make these decisions. I don't think there's a hard deadline, but it's just like, we're not gonna start, our employees are not gonna start getting healthcare until we make these decisions. So it's kind of like a sooner rather than later, but it's not like a hard deadline.
So would you like to vote on this like next time or 2 times from now?
Well, I wasn't anticipating there being as much disagreement as I'm hearing, so I was hoping we would vote on it next time. Maybe we need to have one more discussion before we vote on it. But if we don't vote on it next time, then we're not voting until
That's kind of where I was, trying to get to in my head.
first one in September.
We
Just
could-
another month.
I mean, we could just do a discussion and vote next, vote. I mean, take the week to think about things and.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean, I know it draws out the meeting a little bit of time, but it helps us iron things out and then.
I mean, if you guys are okay with that, I mean, we'll put something in front of you, you vote yes or no on that. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, we can have an amendment, you know, people can propose amendments and.
I'm
Well,
fine with
maybe,
that.
and maybe by next time we can have a couple of different options to look at to vote is what I'm saying, I guess, is. Option A is this, option B, vote for option A, vote for option B. And that puts it on us to propose some different options.
Yeah, that's what I would
Right.
say. If you have ideas that are different than it's here, put those ideas in front of us, so I can help, mediate the decision points.
This would be awesome to get this done.
Yeah. Quickly to go through these other ones, we got basically 2 more main areas to go through. Health leave, and so health leave being separate in the sense of. Some people combine PTO, they pay time off, they combine vacation and health. I don't really like that because then like some people will just use all their the health side of things for take vacation. And then other people will not stay home when they're sick because they want to save up their vacation. So what we're proposing is that there's a separate vacation of 15 days a year. And that doesn't roll over. So you can't just keep building up a bunch of.
For sick leave.
Sick leave, yeah. And it would be health leave in the sense of like, you don't have to be sick, like if you have a doctor appointment, you could take it off for your doctor. You gotta drive up to Salt Lake to see a doctor or something, but it's health related. Time off.
Yeah, I'm fine with this.
Okay, and then. No. Obviously, we have someone in this position who might be needing some postpartum recovery time soon. What we looked up, what we we're proposing is essentially what the state of Utah is proposing. There are some cities that offer a more generous benefit, you know, larger cities in Salt Lake County and so forth. But this seems to be somewhat standard. which would be, there would be a 6 weeks of postpartum recovery. You can only use it once in a 12-month period.
All you wanna do.
Yes, you gotta say that and you gotta specify that. What did we find out? Did you end up looking up the whether or not someone qualifies for that immediately or
I believe state of Utah, it is available immediately, but I would check that on me.
Yeah.
I think the thing was it was available immediately, so as not to discriminate against an individual in that.
if they're pregnant when they get hired or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is, but I will triple check that for you.
Yeah. I saw some that said you had to have 12 months of service and then work for at least 12 weeks after you get back
Hmm,
To qualify.
to qualify.
okay.
But
That's the one we wanted to, we wanna check on that piece of it.
and then the only thing else I have in there is that the parental leave.
Yeah, so that's the next thing we're gonna talk about. So this.
Yeah, but it's in this one where the mother, the birther can take 6 weeks plus an additional 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's what the state does. So
Well, the state's parental leave is for the spouse. They get the 3 weeks, not the birther.
the way we read it, and then we can reread it, the way we read it is the mom could basically take 9 weeks. And the non-birthing parent could take 3 weeks.
Your place is.
But yeah, you could stack them on top of each other is the way we read it.
Everything I read with the state said they're giving them 6 weeks. And then next week's for adoption, next this if it's different. But everything for the non-birthing parent was 3 weeks.
Let's double check that.
That too.
Cause we did have an officer challenge that at Bountiful. And tried to take the full weeks that the mother got. And it came back no. And they
I
ended up
know that
paying.
they did make a change to their policy within the last year.
Yeah, I read that.
But I will definitely look that up. Okay. So we got a couple on that one.
So we're checking whether or not you can stack parental, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, parental leave and postpartum recovery leave. 7063A 17511.
My thought was on this one is that we would just track the state code. We don't have to, right? We could do something different from the state code. Or the state policy, but it seems like we just following that is kind of the easy way, so we just need to clarify how that works.
Yeah,
Are people cool with however the state works? We just need to clarify that.
Yeah.
Then there's a couple of other less often ones, but bereavement leave is the next one, Aaron. Pull that one up. And this one is a little complex, like we talked about it a few different ways. What would you land on putting in here?
Got 5 consecutive days for an immediate family member and talks about who would be in there, and then extended family up to 3 scheduled work days. Very flexible on this. People are kind of all over the board in terms of what this would be.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about the 3-day thing just from attending Burials from out here, it's rough.
But that's 3 days paid. I mean, it does say down at the bottom, additional leave can be approved.
Yeah.
I think we're saying the opposite direction, like saying we need less than that.
Oh, they more than that.
Oh, more than that, okay, fair.
Oh, I'm just saying like, you know, if I've like,
Yes.
ever I've gone to a funeral, you've driven or flown a significant amount to get somewhere for a burial out here, but. I mean, I'm fine with it though.
And I guess my thought is like, yeah, in that case, you probably need to take some vacation time to, you know.
Well, and that's extended family. I mean, that's not like, you know, your mom dies, then you're up in the other, you know, you're up in the higher. But if your cousin dies, then, or not the cousins are more important, but, you know.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. That's it.
All right, again, if folks feel strongly want to suggest a different, you know, a different approach on some of these, feel free to let us know. What do we have on the other, or what we've had in the other?
Oh, jury military election.
Oh, yeah,
Day,
those are
which
all
required
required by law, so like,
just would be in the policy.
all right, so, I know that's complex, but it is one of these complex things, and being a town council administration is kind of like our thing. So, I guess what I'll recommend is that if folks have specific proposals of things they'd like us to consider, you know, do some research this week and try to get us some stuff by Friday. Obviously, like, it doesn't have to happen by Friday in the sense of like, you can always make, you know, a suggestion and we can vote on it in the actual meeting. But just for preparing for the vote, it would be helpful for me and for Aaron in terms of you know, running the meeting and writing up what the policy would be. I think probably the way we will do it, Aaron, is instead of like, well, it would be nice to have an actual policy voted on, but actually, if we know what the policy is gonna be, we could start going to PHP, getting the stuff, getting things going. And we could vote on the actual letter of the policy. Our first meeting in September, and that'd probably be okay. But we'll write up the policy kind of the way we're suggesting, and if people have alternatives, we can vote on those, and then we would just have to rewrite the policy. Right?
You could have the policy, just like have it highlighted, like here's options everybody to see under each heading. And then you select your thing, delete out the others.
And then we voted on it, okay.
Aaron's amazing at live editing.
So we'll try to be ready for that so that we can actually vote on a policy that we can pass. So especially if people submit ideas or what they suggest for that. And we will try to clarify these research questions that the PHP one, see if we can kind of sentence this, a couple of sentences that are better written. The parental versus postpartum is another critical one we said we needed to look at.
And the number of vacation or number of PTO days.
Yep. Since we've gone long, we're not gonna get into the Bluff well-being results. I thought there's some interesting stuff in there, you know. If you read the comments, there's a lot of, you know, survey of one comments, but it's always interesting to get, you know, kind of just unvarnished people's comments. It was interesting that Bluff was the most connected community of everybody surveyed, so that was kind of cool. You know, some of the priority issues that we said we'd work on this year were priorities for folks, so. They offered to do a presentation, and my sense is not to take our town council time to do a presentation on this from the researchers. I mean, we've done it kind of 3 times now, but if someone felt differently, let me know.
Do you come to present?
I don't know if they've offered, do you want me to like publish that on the town website or anything like that, or send out to the community in any way so folks can see the feedback?
I don't feel strongly
like a
one
link-
way or another.
A link to that website at least.
Sure. We
Yeah,
could-
I think that maybe if you published the results and it showed that we were looking at them, that may, I was surprised at how much difference in participation we had this time than in the past years. So I just wonder if people know that we're actually look at it or whatever, that maybe it would encourage them to actually participate with it next year. Because we dropped at least 30 people in participation between last year and this year.
Yeah, I think some of it was kind of natural. I mean, I honestly didn't fill out this year's one because I had done it the other two times and I was like. You know, like I think there's just like, there's something when it's novel versus like, I filled the survey out before. Why would I fill it out again? But, yeah, maybe we can let people look at it. We had a couple of other items, which now I need to pull up my notes. Do you have your, in your notes? That we did need to get to, oh, one was, the Utah League of Cities and Towns Annual Conference is coming up in October. It's the 27th and 28th of October. I can't go this time. I went to the mid-year conference. Aaron's gonna go to this one, but those are generally really good conferences, so it's a ways away, but if somebody wants to go or can go, it'd be good to be thinking about
Salt
that.
Lake, or is it?
It's in Salt Lake. It's in Salt Lake, so it's, you know, it's a commitment to go drive up there and be there for it. Wouldn't be bad if a council member or two could go.
27th and 28th.
27th and 28th of October, yeah.
Where is it this time?
Salt Lake.
Oh, like,
It'll be the same
Oh.
conference as I usually use.
Yeah, up at the,
Yes.
the Salt Palace, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one. Then there is also a training by the Utah League of Cities and Towns that looked really, I thought really good about, basically the title of it was something to the effect of working together, like, mayors and councils working together in 5- and 6-person councils. And that is being offered.
On Wednesday, August 26th at noon, I believe,
Yeah.
via webinar.
Yeah. Wednesday, the 26th at noon. Again, I'm gonna be on the road. I'm gonna try to do it like during a lunch break at my work that day. But it's called Leading Together is the name of the webinar from Utah League. And it just sounded like a good way. It's like how to collaborate as a council, how to work together with your mayor and staff. And so thought I'd put that on your radar. If you're not getting the Friday notes from Utah League of Cities and Towns, the registration's there, it's right on their website. But just thought that would be a good one to mention.
And then we also have the CERTA training on September 9th. So if you're interested in attending that and want to carpool, we're figuring all that out. For transportation, that one's in Price. And then the other reminder, is P&Z joint meetings.
Oh, yeah, so we're gonna try to put together, okay. Yeah, so. The Planning and Zoning Commission is gonna try to do a open house around the zoning code. In September 19th, 17th, sorry, September 17th. And so that's gonna be a great opportunity for the community to come and give feedback, but what we thought would be really good to do is to have a joint P and Z town council meeting before that, where the town council can talk about our priorities for what we might want to see changed in the zoning code. And so we were looking at dates when we could do that before the 17th. And we were looking at Tuesday, the of September as the joint meeting. Leah, did you hear back from anybody about? Okay,
So,
I'll be going expensive
so wait.
We'll be back to that
on the 8th.
of September. Oh, probably not.
I've got the lowest on.
Yeah,
the
we'll
7th.
probably be gone on the 8th.
Well, yeah, we'll be doing a river trip.
the two of you guys.
Three of us potentially.
We'll see if that's vision.
All right, well. Maybe we'll look and see if there's another option. I guess the only other option really on a town council day would be.
If we, for it,
Right before it,
yeah.
which
Think about.
we could do.
I'm in town.
So maybe we'll target trying to do a joint meeting on the 15th instead. Okay, knowing that you guys might be out on the 8th, is there any chance Jen or Gary, you guys would be out on the 8th? Because if one of you guys were out, we wouldn't have a quorum.
I will be here.
I'll be here.
I guess that'll be a work session, so it's not, we don't have to have a quorum for a work session, right?
No, you
Why
do.
not?
Yeah, you do. It's a public meeting. You gotta have a quorum.
Make the decisions.
You're not making decisions, but. I just wanna have a meeting. I would just say if you don't have a quorum, don't have a meeting. And if you wanna meet with one other person, then
You can go
Do
do that
that
anytime,
on
you
your
don't,
own.
you don't have to notice anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys are both in town, so we'll have a quorum.
We have to.
On the 8th, okay. If that changes, let us know, so we'll know that we don't have a quorum, we should think about canceling it.
We'll update our calendar, sorry.
I put it in my calendar. Did you see it?
that, I'll check.
Good job, good job. Okay, any others from the council?
Just
Right.
one thing I'd like to clarify, I did Google about Google's giving their employees more time off.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of the wrong one. I was thinking of a different one.
And it says that there is no formal study proving that giving employees general time off or shorter hours increases productivity.
Yeah, I think what they did, they like had like an extra day for creativity or something throughout the week where they weren't doing their normal
It
workload.
popularized 20% time allowing engineers to spend one day a week on side projects. Which helped, but.
I mean, there's, yeah.
Side project. All right, any others?
I can update on the town website and then love a picture of the council together, so maybe if after one of these next meetings, you guys can stand against the wall and get a picture when you guys have decided that you would look. In your Sunday best or something.
I can vote.
Tuesday best.
So maybe next Tuesday.
How about next Tuesday? Wear whatever you might want, next Tuesday, wear whatever you might want in a picture.
And it'll be a group photo, I won't make you do individuals.
Oh, I was gonna do it.
Oh,
Alright,
okay.
group photo is-
But-
Just kidding.
So wear whatever it is that you want in your official group photo as a council.
Is it gonna be upside down?
What could be that they were running late?
That's it, yeah. We're late, I don't know what happened, man. Okay, thanks, everybody. We will adjourn. It is 5:57.